And joining us now is Abdul El-Sayed, Democratic candidate for the U.S. Senate in Michigan, in his only TV hit today. Abdul, thank you for coming to the weekend. I want to put up an Emerson poll, the latest Emerson poll, which I'm sure you are very familiar with and very happy about. You are leading Haley Stevens 54 to 39, 6% undecided. The margin of error, however, is 5.2%, so we should keep that in mind. I bring that up because the last Senate race in Michigan was in 2024, when now Senator Elissa Slotkin, the Democratic senator from Michigan, beat Mike Rogers, the presumptive Republican nominee who you might have to face. She only beat him by 21,775 votes. And she is a hard square, moderate Democrat. Why do you think you will also succeed in beating Mike Rogers, who is, even though he lost to Elissa Slotkin, he's not unknown and he's not, quote unquote, unpopular?
First, thank you all for having me and squeezing me in here before I go to church this morning. Really, really grateful to be with you. And look, polls don't vote, people do. And we're building a grassroots movement of people believing that we can get money out of politics, put money in your pocket, pass Medicare for all. Think about the matchup with Mike Rogers here. This is a guy who spent his 14 years in Congress doing every single errand that the pharmaceutical industry and big tech industry could ask him of. So much so that he helped to architect, literally sponsored and introduced the legislation that kicked off the opioid epidemic that killed 600,000 Americans. Chances are people watching probably know somebody. I know I do. But this is because he has never seen a corporate PAC check he doesn't want. And the reality of it is I'm the only candidate who's never taken a dime from a corporation, only candidate who stood up and said that we need to take these folks on. And because I'm not bought by them, I actually have the opportunity to stand up and regulate them. I think Michiganders want somebody who's going to stand up and fight for them against the corporations who've nickeled and dimed us, kicked off terrible epidemics that killed our kids, killed our parents, killed our neighbors. And is willing to say what we really can have. We can have a movement where we finally guarantee every single person health care, stop sending our money to drop bombs somewhere else, start building our schools and our roads, and investing in one another.
Abdul, thank you so much for coming on this morning. Your race obviously has exposed, more so than any other race in the country right now, a major intra-party debate in the Democratic Party over the issue of Israel. Your campaign has been largely and loudly populist, but also anti-Zionist. And you've sort of married those two things, equating funding for Israel with underfunding healthcare, for example. Are you worried that framing, juxtaposing the Jewish funding for the Jewish state against the needs of, in your own words, our own people, echoes an old anti-Semitic trope?
Let me just be very, very clear. You know who benefits from guaranteed health care in this country? Jewish Americans. The idea that somehow we are going to use the specter of anti-Semitism to defend what a foreign government is doing actually does a deep disservice to the well-being of Jewish Americans in this country. Judaism and the Jewish people are a light unto the world, beautiful faith, beautiful people. The contributions that they've made to this country alone are staggering. And I'm looking forward to standing with the Jewish community against anti-Semitism. After all, anti-Semitism and Islamophobia are one in the same, and we need to take them on. But we cannot sit idly by and ask, why is it that our $3.3 billion a year at baseline is used to fund apartheid at baseline, genocide over the last several years, a war we have no business fighting, with the attempt to annex the southern part of a neighboring country, and then wonder why our kids' schools look like they did 50 years ago? The reality of this is that we cannot
you haven't
continue.
made that same trade-off argument with regards to other items in the U.S.'s $800 billion
I have. You just
budget.
don't cover it. No, I have. You just don't cover it. I'll say the same thing about the money we send to Egypt, which is where my family comes from. So if you want to go ahead and call me anti-Egyptian, go ahead and do that. But the reality is that on principle, I don't think we should be sending unconditional foreign military aid to any government, because none of us actually pay our tax dollars.
On principle, then, are you against ethno-religious states writ large?
On principle, I absolutely am.
Sir, I want to play something that our colleague, Reverend Al, had on Haley Stevens, your opponent, on Politics Nation yesterday. And I want you to hear what she had to say, because I think it's an interesting question. Go ahead and play it, guys. E1.
My opponent has campaigned on a lot of anger. He has, campaigned with, some interesting out-of-state people. This blogger, who's been very provocative and controversial. I'm proud to be standing with Congressman Clyburn, when he comes in, or the former Commissioner of Social Security, Martin O'Malley.
To be fair, her criticism is that you have a lot of out-of-state people. I will mention both of the folks that she just mentioned also are not Michiganders, Martin O'Malley, neither Congressman Clyburn. But I digress. But I have been talking to a lot of folks, a lot of Democrats in Michigan over the last few days as we end here in this primary. And their question is, how does the party come back together? On Thursday, you guys always have this kind of unity breakfast. You have said you would support Haley Stevens if she were the nominee, but it has been a really tense primary. I think one of the most tense of the country. And so I am curious, what does it look like for you to bring the party back together to take on Mike Rogers? Because there have been a lot of moderates who I've talked to, and I think who you've probably talked to, who have said, if it's El Sayed, I'm going to stay home. How do you make sure those people come out as you try to bring in people on the left who usually don't interact in politics and participate?
Look, this is a movement to get money out of politics, put money in your pocket, pass Medicare for all. This is the movement that can defeat Mike Rogers, who's become an errand boy for Donald Trump, and defeat Trumpism. If we're serious about taking the majority, we need to be serious about winning Michigan. And I think there's plenty of opportunity here to stand up and fight for the things Michiganders need and deserve. But I do want to speak to what's made this primary so ugly. The unprecedented part of this primary is the amount of outside money coming in from organizations like Big Pharma, Big Tech, Blue Cross, DTE, our local utility, and AIPAC to absolutely corrupt our mind space when it comes to the television screens. I mean, if you turn on TV, chances are people watching MSNBC now, when it goes to commercial break, you're going to see 2 ads on behalf of my opponent. So when you spend an unprecedented amount of money trying to drag your opponent's name through the mud, when you spend that kind of money trying to buy a seat for a senator who's going to do their bidding instead of ours as Michiganders, don't be surprised when this gets kind of ugly. We don't play that way. We've been focused on the issues. Money out of politics, money in your pocket, Medicare for all. And I'm looking forward to the fight against Mike Rogers and Donald Trump, because after all, beating them is the key goal here.
As you well know, the base of the Democratic Party in any state, but particularly Michigan, is African-American voters. I want to put something up on the screen. The establishment of elected African-Americans, the Congressional Black Caucus, you can see them all there on the screen, have endorsed your primary opponent, Haley Stevens, Congresswoman Stevens. And MS Now, our colleague Nnamdi Igwanwu had a piece on Friday on MS Now with the headline, "Will Black Voters Go with the Establishment? Michigan's Senate Primary is a Test." Interviews with roughly a dozen Black voters, party leaders, and elected officials across Michigan suggest the state's most active Black voters, those older than 55, are less troubled by that outside money that you were just talking about, helping explain why Stevens has concentrated her closing weeks on turning them out. Quote, "I don't think it matters as much as really proving to me that she's doing what she says she's going to do to represent the people," Darius Randolph, 65 of Ypsilanti, said after Stevens spoke at New Hope Baptist Church. I bring all of that to you and to the viewers to just ask you, will you be able to win over enough African-American voters to defeat Stevens?
Well, I'll tell you this. I'm grateful to have Representative Ayanna Pressley of Massachusetts in town with me. She's one of 6 members of the CBC who's endorsed us. I'll also tell you about local elected officials from the community. You think about the mayor of Flint, Sheldon Neely. You think about the county executive, Warren Evans. You think about County Commissioner Martha Scott, who has been elected in her community since 1972. These are folks who are standing with us. My relationship in the Black community isn't built on a couple of photo ops or $60 or $70 million of outside spending lying about somebody's record. It's built on the work that I've done, putting glasses on kids' faces, taking on corporate polluters, making sure that we're taking on medical debt. And I'm proud of those relationships. And I think at the end of the day, like we've all said, polls don't vote, people vote. So I'm looking forward to continuing the conversation. I'm on my way to go to church this morning, looking forward to the conversations I'll continue to share. And on the ground, I think you get a very different feel than the narrative that folks are working to manufacture on the internet or on TV. And I look forward to the relationship I'll continue to build, looking forward to working within the black community to turn out in the general. And we've got to beat Mike Rogers, because at the end of the day, you have not seen an administration that has taken a deeper attack on the black community, seen the consequences of the Supreme Court's awful decision on voting rights. We've got to architect a solution to that, and that's the work that I've been working to do since I started my work in public service in the city of Detroit 10 years ago, and looking forward to continuing in the U.S. Senate.
Mr. Al-Sayed, before we go, I do want to zoom out to kind of the larger progressive movement over the last year and some change. I know that you kind of eschew labels overall. You are not a DSA member. That is very clear. They add you to their list while I was there at their summit as someone who represents them. I know you don't. But I am curious, when you think about the larger progressive movement that we've seen over the last year and a half, it's felt to me on the ground and in conversations that folks feel on the left, this is a special moment for the left, that there's something happening around the country that means that now the party can not just move to the left, but fight differently. And I'm curious what you think about that.
Well, I'll leave that to you. Y'all are a lot smarter than I am. My goal here is to serve Michiganders. Well, it depends on who you ask on the internet, apparently. But look, I'll just say this. My responsibility is to fight for Michiganders. It's what I've been doing since I got into public service 10 years ago. And right now, people aren't asking, where do I sit on the left-right spectrum? They're asking, how am I going to afford a second bag of groceries? How am I going to see a doctor if I get sick? How am I going to pay my rent? Can I ever afford a home? And any movement that wants to succeed electorally is going to have to zero in on those questions. And if you're taking money from exactly the same people who are making those problems harder, the folks who are jacking up your utility rates, the folks who are jacking up your prescription drug prices, the folks who are jacking up your insurance premiums, and the folks who want to send your money to a foreign government, be it Egypt or Israel, I think it's going to be really hard for you to pose a real argument about how you're going to make life more livable. And so it's not all that complicated, to be fair. If you can zero in on the challenges people face and you have a credible solution and you're not bought off by the people who are making the problems worse, it is a lot easier to run an honest campaign. And we've been saying the same thing since we kicked this campaign off back in April of 2025. We want to get money out of politics, put money in your pocket, pass Medicare for all.